Hey, welcome to our explainer. Today we're digging into something huge, a massive economic shift that's kind of sneaking up on all of us. I'm talking about the move away from owning things and toward just accessing them. So let's get right into it.
I mean, you've probably asked yourself this, right? You look around and from your entertainment to your software, maybe even your car, everything is turning into a subscription. So why? Why is this all happening right now? Well, according to the source material we're breaking down today, this is no accident. It is a very deliberate, very calculated shift, and we're going to unpack that logic piece by piece.
Okay, just think about software for a second. It wasn't that long ago you'd go to a store, buy a box with a disk in it. You owned that thing. Now, you're probably paying a monthly fee for something like Adobe Creative Cloud or Microsoft 365.
And what about movies? We all went from having shelves packed with DVDs that were ours, we owned them, to now juggling, 4, 5 different streaming subscriptions just to keep up with our favorite shows?
And look, it's not just digital stuff anymore. Even the ultimate symbol of ownership, the car, is becoming a service. You've got subscriptions for heated seats or entire ride-sharing platforms that are replacing the idea of owning your own car. So, what is really driving all of this? This isn't just a trend. It's a deep, fundamental economic shift.
Right, so according to the source material, this whole thing, it's not an accident and it's not a fad. It's a real, fundamental economic shift. And the argument for why it's happening, well, it starts with the basic logic of modern capitalism.
Okay, so the first and honestly the most powerful driver here is a really simple calculation. From a business's point of view, selling you something one time, that's actually super inefficient. The real money, the big prize, is in recurring revenue.
So let's really break down the business case here. If you look at a one-time sale, the money stops right after the purchase. The relationship, it's just transactional, and you get almost no data about the customer. But with a subscription, suddenly you have a predictable, recurring stream of cash. You're building an ongoing relationship, and this is the big one. You get a continuous, non-stop flow of data. For any modern company, it's not even a debate which model is better. It's a no-brainer. And this quote from the source really just cuts right to the heart of the whole mindset. It says, "A customer you never finish charging is superior to a customer who owns something outright." Wow. I mean, a customer who just pays you forever is simply better for business. Now, that logic is incredibly powerful, but believe it or not, it's only half the story.
Because that's just the corporate side of the equation, right? There is another massive force at play here, and this one is on the consumer side. The source argues that a huge technological change, specifically AI, is making the very idea of ownership just unaffordable for a growing number of people.
And the argument here follows a really clear chain of events. So first, you have AI automation becoming widespread in the workplace. This in turn leads to permanent job losses, and it suppresses wages for a lot of the people who are still employed. And the direct result of that? Well, purchasing power just tanks. All of a sudden, way fewer people can afford that big one-time purchase, whether we're talking about a house, a car, or even just some expensive software.
And this brings us to a really crucial point from the source. This whole shift, it isn't just being pushed on us by companies who are chasing profits. In a way, it's being welcomed by consumers who are dealing with a totally new economic reality. I mean, when you can't afford to own something, access starts looking like the only option you've got.
And you know, this leads to a pretty surprising idea. If your paycheck just isn't stretching as far as it used to, giving up on that old dream of ownership might not actually feel like a loss. In fact, the source argues that for many, it can feel like a huge relief.
Just think about it for a second. With access, you don't need a massive upfront payment. You're not worrying about some surprise repair bill popping up. There's no insurance burden, no long-term responsibility hanging over your head. You're just guaranteed a basic level of service for a predictable monthly fee. And in an unstable economy, that predictability is incredibly attractive. But, as you might guess, there's a hidden price.
And this brings us to maybe the most critical part of this whole transaction. Because the source argues that your monthly fee, that's only part of what you're actually paying. There's a second hidden currency at work here.
The thing is, you don't fully pay with money. So what else could you possibly be paying with?
You pay with your behavioral data, your habits, your attention, your predictability. All of that has become an incredibly valuable currency that you're handing over every single time you use one of these services.
So you see, the platform gets paid twice. First, yeah, they get your subscription fee, even if it's just a few bucks. But second, and you could argue this is even more important, they get that continuous stream of your data. And that data is gold. It's used to train their AI systems, to perfect their pricing models, and to manage their risk. You're not just a customer anymore, you're a data asset.
And this is where it all locks into place. The final step in this whole argument is how all these different pieces create this powerful feedback loop that makes the access society self-reinforcing and maybe even permanent.
Let's just walk through this cycle together. The more of us who choose access, the less demand there is for traditional ownership. Okay, that gives these platforms way more user data. That data allows them to build better, more efficient AI. That better AI drives down their costs. And when their costs go down, they can offer access even more cheaply, which, you guessed it, encourages even more people to choose access instead of ownership. The cycle just locks itself in and gets stronger and stronger.
And the source makes a really important point here. This doesn't need some secret backroom deal or a big conspiracy. It's just plain old market selection. The companies that switch to this model just outcompete the ones that stick with the old way. It's an emergent property of the whole system.
So, if there's one single sentence to take away from this entire explainer, it's this summary from the source. It just perfectly ties together the two main forces, the relentless profit motive of capitalism and the declining purchasing power of labor, all supercharged by AI.
So when you boil it all down, this is the fundamental trade-off that we're all making, whether we realize it or not. On one hand, we're giving up the freedom, the control, the autonomy that you get with ownership. And in return, we're gaining the stability, the predictability, and the convenience that comes with just having access.
Which brings us to the final question we want to leave you with. The source argues we're all trading freedom for stability. So I want you to think about your own life. The software you use, the shows you watch, how you get around. What does that trade actually feel like to you? That's our explainer for today.